Giants are by far one of my favorite creatures to pit against my players while playing 5th edition. As a matter of fact, I have a very old and awkward video on the creatures somewhere on my channel because I still believe that they are too often used as just normal monsters that happen to be there at that specific point in time, while in fact they are their own people. They have their own society, their own hierarchies, their own customs, their own politics, and even their own architecture. And when I saw Kobold Press release a new book on these creatures, I immediately jumped on the shoulder of giants. Okay, they're stealing livestock. They're putting it in their hovel, and then they have like people who work for them or something, smaller folk, human kin or whatever, who go spread the word that different farmers are stealing cattle from other farmers. Genius! Hi there fellow roleplayers and game masters, this is Shoulders of Giants, a PDF for sale on the Kobold Press web store for $3 and 99% of the next dollar, link in the description below, meaning that it is a very affordable PDF, 17 pages with giant options. Now when I say giant options, I don't mean like only for the DM to, or the GM to pit giants against their players, but also for players to do some cool stuff against giants or to become sort of a giant or whatever. There's a bunch of cool stuff in here that if you like giants or you like to use giants in your campaign, you should really pick up. Now, the reason why I like this is because if your players ever encounter giants, even if your players are going from A to B and your campaign has nothing to do with giants, but they encounter like, I don't know, a frost giant or whatever, I think there always should be at least that sense of those giants being a people and you trespassing their territory and they having their own hierarchies and stuff like that. Sense needs to be there, and Shoulders of Giants just gives you some more rules to add to your 5th edition game to kind of make that feeling true. Now, if you see me catch my breath every now and then in my video, that is because I've fractured, if that's correct, my chest bone, hard bone, whatever the name for this thing right here is, with doing some aggressive inline skating. So I was, stupid shit on inline skates, and so I have a hard time breathing every now and then. So without further ado, Shoulders of Giants is a small PDF, and it has a bunch of cool stuff. So I'm not going to go through the entire thing and review the entire thing. I'm just going to point out what's there and point out a few things that I really like about it. Now, so first of all, what's there is a part for the players. There is a new Cyclops skin, which is really cool, which has a power that I'm not like really into, but some people might find it really, really cool. There is the Circle of the Behemoths, if that's the correct way to pronounce that, which is a giant team druid subclass. Really cool. And then there is Big Trouble options for small folk to topple titans, where there is some really, really cool stuff in there as well. And then for the game masters, there is Major Offenders, bringing unique feel to underused giants from the SRD, Instant Stronghold, quickly create a fortress of giant proportions, and Giant Familiars, intensify the sense of scale with giant pets. And this is really important. Intensify the sense of scale with giant pets. Now, bringing pets into the equation with giants is a really good way, I find, to make giants feel really, really big. Because if a giant has a giant boar as a pet and they can just like control them with a chain or whatever, it means the giant itself needs to be like really big, and setting the bigness, the hugeness of a giant while in combat is sometimes a really hard thing for a game master to do. I use things like the giant pulls out a lantern post from the street out of the ground and just starts swinging it around and mowing down 12 people with one swing. That's something you can use in order to make a giant feel really large, but giving them giant familiars can be a pretty good way as well. So as you can see, the book starts off with giving a few of the giant types a few new abilities and actions and powers. For example, there's the Fire Giant, the Frost Giant, the Hill Giant, and the Ogre. Now, without going into all of them, the Fire Giant is pretty interesting, I think, because they could get a special feature called Firewalk. So they say Fire Giants, while many Fire Giants focus on large-scale craftsmanship and war ornaments, some of their kind lean into their elemental origins. Try these features to play up the fiery teams. So Firewalk. Really, really cool. For every 10 feet of movement spent, the fire giant leaves 2 campfire-sized fiery footprints in 5-foot square spaces diagonal to each other. The footprints blaze for 1 minute and give off dim light in a 10-foot radius. These effects end if the fire is extinguished. Any creatures that start its turn in an adjacent or adjacent to a fiery footprint takes 11 or 2d10 fire damage. I really like that. Not only for the combat options, because in combat, when it walks around, you get like this terrain full of little bonfires, which could be really hard to navigate for people who don't have like flying powers or whatever. So there's bonfires everywhere, so people need to like really navigate them in order to not take damage from that. But also from a thematical standpoint, for example, you might have your players encounter a frost giant, and they battle this frost giant. This frost giant is like, I was looking for my kin or something like that, and there's the story, and then the players know there's giants in this area. Then at a certain point they're having this campfire or whatever, and in the distance they see this track of little bonfires. And they just see this track, and then they add 1 and 1, and they know that there is this fire giant just walking through the hills. And you don't make your players encounter that per se, but it gives off like this feeling of, oh, there's more of these. We are actually in giant territory, and this frost giant is just one of the people of the giants, which I think could be a really cool thing to do there. Also, the fire giant could have tremor wave. The fire giant smashes the ground before it, summoning molten earth to the surface in a tectonic wave. Each creature in a 30-foot cube originating from the fire giant must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes a lot of bludgeoning damage and a lot of fire damage and is knocked prone or pushed back. And pushed back 10 feet. On a successful save, a creature takes half damage and isn't knocked prone. So it is knocked back. So just to give you an idea of some just slightly new powers you can give to giants, really making them more interesting than just a bunch of dudes smacking the living shit out of you. Then there are some very cool random rolling tables called Instant Stronghold, and people on my channel like it when I roll on random rolling tables for some reason, so I'm gonna do it again. So what I need to do is just take one set of dice, because there is a D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, and D20 random rolling table here that I just need to roll one set of dice and just have them all. My D4 escapes me. So for the D4, I rolled 1, so it is a giant's hovel. Roll 1d4 to determine how many rooms the residents have to work with. You determine room size, but technically each room is 4 to 5 times as large as residence giant. So there is 4 rooms in a giant's hovel. Then we take the D6, which is a 2. The giants like to borrow cattle and other livestock. Borrow cattle and other livestock. So we immediately have, like, what is our thing? Our thing is basically a stash room where they stash livestock that they've stolen from farmers who might be traveling the area right here. So we take D8, which was 7. So the forest dwellers, so that is the occupants, the forest dwellers of the giant world. So we have forest giants of all kinds. So we are in the forest-like mountains environment where forest giants are stealing, if forest giants even are a thing, you know what I mean, if forest giants are stealing sheep from herders and they're stashing it in their giant's hovel. Right? Okay, so a D10. I rolled a 5 on that. So, on the coast, either in grotto caves or within massive hollow shells. Makes sense. Forests can be on and forest and mountainous environments can be on a near a coast. Maybe we are even on an island. Who knows? We're on an island, because then we get mountains, forests, sea, beaches and everything, right? So that makes sense. A D12, I got a 6. The souls of... So what is in here? Unique treasure. The souls of the dread, contained in vessels created from the finger bones of their fallen. And then a D20, I got a 16. These giants are dedicated warmongers, rallying up other residents of the area to fight amongst themselves. Okay, they're stealing livestock. They're putting it in their hovel, and then they have, like, people who work for them or something, smaller folk, humankin or whatever, who go spread the word that different farmers are stealing cattle from other farmers. Genius. Then there are rules about giant familiars like a giant crab, giant goat, giant badger, giant spider, giant vulture, and giant boar. And you're the giant leader of this companion or this familiar basically gets some of the strengths or powers of that familiar. For example, for a giant vulture, the giant spellcaster gains their giant vulture's pack tactics, keen sight, and smell traits. There's also a bunch on a new Cyclops skin, which is basically you become a Cyclops, you have one eye, and it gives you a Titan's Gaze, basically giving you an eye ray, which I don't really like. But just I don't know why. There's probably people who like it, but I just don't like Cyclops doing the eye thingy. I'm just not like really into that. There is a circle of the behemoths, which is really cool. A really cool druid circle, which basically gives you a behemoth shape, so you become bigger, stronger. And you get like your size category increases, advantage on strength and constitution. You get a slam attack that does 1d6 extra damage. All of that stuff for the druid. But some stuff that I want to talk about more is like the new fighting styles. There's 2 new fighting styles in here, 2 if I'm not mistaken, and 2 really cool or 3 really cool weapon options. So for example, the new fighting styles, there's fleet fighting, which I really like. You have resistance to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage dealt to you by opportunity attacks. So if you are a fighter or whatever who likes to walk across the battlefield, but you don't have those powers that like give you free disengage stuff and stuff like that, you can take this and still do like disengage type things, still take some damage, but just take half damage from those opportunity attacks. When you are adjacent to a creature at least one size category larger than you may use your bonus action to use the dodge action. That is also really cool. There is heavy felling. When you impose a prone condition on a creature through an attack, skill contest, or spell effect, the target takes 1d6 falling damage if they are small or medium. 2d6 if they're large, 4d6 if they're huge, and 8d6 if they're gargantuan. So this is really cool in combination with being like, I don't know, a battle master or whatever who has like this maneuver that can knock people prone. Now it does extra damage when you do. So it already can do extra damage if you use your superiority dice for the battle master, but having this, it does even a d6 extra damage, or sometimes 2d6 or 4d6 or 86. Really cool stuff. There is a very cool weapon option called the ladder shot, where basically you can shoot a bunch of arrows into a giant creature, a gargantuan creature, but by hitting those arrows, you can create a ladder pattern in their body, giving you advantage on climb checks if you want to climb that creature. So say you're fighting a Hydra and you shoot like 5 or 6 arrows into the Hydra, but creating a ladder. Then the next turn you climb up the Hydra because you have these arrows to hold on to, and then from above you shoot like 1 arrow into one head of the Hydra, killing the Hydra or damaging the Hydra with a lot of damage. Really cool stuff. Really, it invites really cool role-playing opportunities and just being epic, basically like Legolas killing an elephant, which still only counts as 1. We all know that. And there's a plunging piercer. When you attack with this weapon and you fall more than 10 feet, you can curl yourself around its hilt, transferring your momentum into a deadly strike. Make an attack roll with this weapon. On a hit, calculate any falling damage you would have taken and add the amount to your weapon's damage roll against that target. You take only half the falling damage dealt, or none if your attack was a critical hit. Thematically, that is insanely cool. You literally just attack from above, curl yourself around your spear or whatever, and just jab that spear into the Hydra that you were fighting, or the cave troll or whatever that you're fighting. And you transfer all your momentum from your falling damage into like your weapon, because you could become like one object with your weapon, meaning you deal a lot of shit ton of damage with your weapon. So that is a basic overview of Shoulders of Giants by Kobold Press. There's a lot more small things in this PDF that I can't talk about in like one video. There's a bunch of small, like there are some new spells in here. There is, a bunch of stuff that you should check out for yourself for those $4 that it costs. And until next video, bye-bye.